Ahoy, crypto pirates and crypto junkies alike. I'm glad you guys joined me here this morning or evening where you may be. But I've got some really neat information today. Now, this mostly is applicable to United States residents. So, for all of you guys in Europe who are listening to me, I'll bet there's some kind of equivalent. You just need to find a tax professional that can work on this with you. But almost everywhere in the world that there is a tax benefit to legal structuring and entities, there is usually an equivalent somewhere else internationally. So you just need to have the right tax professional, probably a tax attorney, not just a CPA, but a tax attorney. But I got some really good information for you guys here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Papa B first because I know this guy's going to have questions regarding this topic. So let me pull him up real quick. And then let's kind of get into it just a little bit because I think
I have questions regarding this topic.
Yes. Well, do you have questions right this moment?
Oh, no. After I hear about the topic, then I'll have questions.
All right. Give me 1 second here. So Captain and I have been digging around, and without choosing the revocation of election, without choosing to go to Puerto Rico, we have found quite a few ways in which you can protect against crypto tax gains. Essentially what you're doing is what the politicians already do. And what's nice about doing what the politicians do is that they're not soon to legislate getting rid of these loopholes. So because they want to keep these for themselves. So they're not going to cut off their own nose to spite their face, even though some of the decisions they make, you might think that that's exactly what they're doing. So important question. My dad's favorite plane. How did you get your name, KNTX? It's an old gamer name, an old tagger gamer name. So, oh, look at this. Hold up. Yes, we will get Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney on. I want to know a little bit more about her, but everyone, August 24th, we will have her on our show. So thank you so much for the update on that. That'll be this coming Tuesday. So we're excited to have her. Captain, how you doing, buddy? And then he took himself down, so he doesn't want to be up here yet. So I can throw him back up here again. But I just want to. So here's the deal, guys. There's a lot of different things, and we'll give you more information as we go ahead. And I'll let Captain release some information that he's got. We're gonna call this professional today and get a little better details. But there's a way that you can compound your hex and use it as a reserve and get a passive income through a traditional banking program. So really, that's really exciting. So then you'd never have to sell your hex, but you still get yield from. But you have to have a fiat deposit as well. So we'll get into that in just a moment here. But so any of you guys, let me put this in the chat. You got here's several subjects I would have your tax professionals, attorneys look at. But the first one is a NIMCRUT. So I'm putting this in the chat here. And it can be tied to a family foundation or charity. And then there would be other ways, depending on a few different factors, applicable ways. The QOZ, QOF. So you guys need to look into these. Guys, hex from home. Anyway, so these are. I am not a tax professional. So I am not giving tax advice on these. All I am saying is, hey, these are some resources that those of you who don't want to play the revocation of election game, don't want to relocate to Puerto Rico, there are other options for you to look into. No, children of the great. No, that's wrong. That is wrong. Sorry. But I just want to throw these out here for now so that you guys have a couple minutes or you guys have a couple resources to start looking into. So yes, it is pretty cool, Blaze. So yes, it's essentially you're using your wallet address as reserves, almost as if the bank, but you don't ever give up. You don't ever give up the possession of the keys. You don't give them to anyone, so you retain your keys, and then you do a fiat deposit into their bank on top of this, and then they will give you yield, because then they can use your assets to leverage against and lend. It sounds like, I need to get all the specifics again, but it sounds like they essentially just use your assets as a reserve for an interest-free loan from the Fed, and then you get a percentage of that yield.
So KNTX,
yes.
how can you tie? So your off ramp is the only way that you can change your crypto or your hex today to fiat. You have to go through several different hops. So how do you tie that in with the actual address of your hex through the off ramp exchange to the bank? How do you do that?
You don't. You hold on to it the whole time. You just give them the wallet address, and then they claim
your
it
hex
on
wallet
their
address.
balance sheet. Yes, your Ethereum
Okay.
address that your hex is in. Yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So I will get more details on that. We're getting more details here later today. We're playing phone tag a little bit right now, but it sounds really cool, because this way you can still make, I mean, depending on the size of your stack, I won't tell everybody exactly the numbers we're looking at, but with like a $10 million hex balance and like $350,000, because I think you need 3.5% of that in fiat, then you deposit it into their bank, and this is just an example, that will produce about a $25,000 a month income, passive income for you, and all you do is restake your hex, so you don't even have to spend your hex. That's the beauty of it, because they're getting an interest-free loan based on your assets. So
that is definitely piqued my interest.
But now these other things you need to get set up, these QOZ, QOF, and the NIMCRUT, it's wise to get these things set up first. So just like any taxable event, it's always wise to plan ahead of time and get all the infrastructure in place before you start taking these profits. Now, you may have to pay a little bit of taxes for the time period that you've taken profit before you've put these into place, but these are pretty amazing products that we're looking at right now. So we're always on the lookout for you Hexicans, because we're in the same position. We need to find a way to take some profits without getting bent over by the federal tax structure. So there's ways around it.
Without doxing your source, did it come from a credible financial and tax professional source that turned you on to this NIM? And where was it buried? In what paperwork was it buried that these items would be exactly the trick that the higher ups have been using all these years?
I'll have
Is there
to
a
find
code?
that. Yeah, it's in the tax code. It's in the tax code, and it's just certain legal entities, the way that they're structured, you can work around these things. So
fascinating.
No, Cabana, do not hire Children of the Grave to set up your NIMCRUT. No, do not. So yeah, we'll give you more information as it comes along, and I'll just give you raw information. I'm not going to give you advice as to specifics to how everyone does, because I'm not a tax professional. I am not a tax professional. I just have been talking to some. So these guys have a wealth academy that's very reminiscent to what Funding Jim and myself and RG3 are building. So it's very similar, but it's more from the traditional markets that they have, and it's a lot more low key than what we're going to be doing. We're doing the whole Instagram lifestyle, because there's a lot of you 20-something-year-olds that just became millionaires that you want to go out and enjoy life, and you want to be able to go be important in the club and drive a supercar and get all the hot chicks, and that's great if that's what you want to do, man. We'll provide you that opportunity. So
pardon me, KNTX, must you have an LLC or an S corp already set up to use this, or could it be used as a personal account?
No, you're going to want to tie it through either a family foundation or a trust, is what it seems, or a family trust.
Okay, has to be that. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it seems like at this point in time. Like I said, I don't have all the details yet. we're playing. But I wanted to let you guys know, here's some resources to start looking into, guys, because this could be a game changer, especially if you never have to give up your hex. And as you take hex gains, as your stakes mature, you just restake them longer, supplement it a little bit of extra fiat on the back end, and then still continually get the residual income.
Can't you just always do a 15-year stake then?
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And then none of that interest ever gets sold on the market, and you're still making a yield in the legacy finance. Yep.
So the bank simply uses it on their reserve books, but they never have to call it in either.
Yep, dude. Yeah, they don't have reserve minimums anymore. They just well, they did actually. Wales, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they put the reserves back into place? You have to have the reserves now at the banks, because I know for a short while last year they took it away.
No, they do not have to have reserves.
No need for reserve, but they can still use your assets as collateral. Yep, with the federal government. So
I'll say early Wales, you've got background noise. How's that? Is that easier for you? There we go. Thank you, Wales.
Oh my God, you guys just fight left and right. Hexhound, $25. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate you guys proving info on this. You guys, like I said, I don't have all the specifics, and I am not a tax professional, but I want you to talk to your tax professionals about this. And yes, I believe an S corp will work, Cabana. I believe it will on this. That was exactly my question, because I have several S corps. So that's remarkable. Taxes just suck. I know. They do suck, but I want you guys to keep as many of your gains, especially if you never have to sell your hex to pay your monthly family foundation or family trust. Yeah, you're taking notes here in the private chat, aren't you there, Papa B?
Yes, I am. I'm putting those up because I have so many questions, and I want that all there so we can not bore the audience, but we can research and bird dog any more very interesting details about these things on the green room and thereafter, and then come back, because this is the mind-blowing moment that I've been waiting for.
I got to give hopefully I don't give him too much work in his DMs, but shout out to Far Out Aliens. I don't know if you guys have known that guy, but he and I were, like, I swear, best buddies back in the early Hexo days on Hexo stream before I started streaming myself. He and I would talk all the time. He's the guy that came across the gentleman that came across this CPA and this tax advisor that gave us this information, and it's blowing my mind. Like, RG and I are giddy like schoolgirls over here. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a way to get yield off your hex without ever having to sell any of it. Yeah, let's do that. So the only downside is that you would have to fund the fiat side. So you have to have, I think it's 3.5% in an account.
What if your staking ladder is on the same wallet and you've got, let's say, 1 million hex, right? Then you have to fund 3% of that, even though there's staking ladder that has many different increments for your 1 million hex over 15 years. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And so as you accrue more interest and you can show it accruing more interest, then you can fund the additional 3.5% of the additional interest that is coming in, and you can get a better yield every month. So does that make sense?
It kind of makes sense. I'm just wondering if you're penalized for having more in there in a fiat sense, meaning I've got assets that are accruing, they're continuing, the asset is growing because you're getting yield on a daily basis, mind you, at like 38% per annum. That's a hefty sum. Then you can actually borrow against that, or are you?
You don't borrow against
that as income.
No, they're using yield on yield. They're using it as a reserve asset to borrow against, to get a 0% interest loan from the federal government to reloan out at 6-7%.
But you got to match 3% in the bank.
3.5%.
3.5% in the bank. So as your yield grows, you keep having to match that 3.5% in the bank, and the 3.5% is locked up in their bank. And can you retrieve that 3.5%?
Only if you want your yield to grow every month do you have to keep funding more new fiat into the bank account.
why can't you use the yield that they give you to fund the yield in the bank?
You can. Absolutely, you can.
Okay. This sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Yes, you're going to be. I know you're going to be looking at all kinds of NIMCRUTs and XOZs and XOFs and family foundations and the family foundation. So I didn't realize how powerful this was. So I grew up with, or I went to college with some very wealthy individuals. Like he had like a $10 million condo on 3rd and Broadway in New York City. And we went there for New Year's of 2004, 2005. And like he kept talking about his family foundation. I didn't understand how powerful that was. Well, apparently that is like 4 generations of wealth tax-free. So these family foundations are amazing tax vehicles if you use them correctly. So you can put all kinds of assets and all kinds of and generate all kinds of yield off of them and never pay taxes on it if it's set up.
Is
right.
this where the punchline is that there's a $3 million minimum and you have to be an accredited investor to start a foundation? Is there any punchline like this at all?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe so with the foundation side.
No.
Yep. Thank you, Wales. Appreciate
it. All right, so let's talk about this nonsense because I understand people are excited, but you have to understand this is the game that they play. There's a reason you don't know about it, right? So, of course, it's all ad hominem. It's all ad hoc. Whatever makes sense for your situation is what can apply. You just need to have somebody that actually knows what the fuck they're doing so that when they put it on paper, it reads correctly. That's literally it. Foundations, trust, same crap. It's what they use, so of course you're not going to know about it. These are the things that we have to realize as we navigate this transfer of value from crap to crypto. So understand what's actually going on. There's a reason you are now discovering it. It's because it's no longer going to be around for a long period of time. Because you have to realize that they make the rules. You do not. So while it's currently looking real good right now, understand that you must always have an exit plan when you don't make the rules. That's all I have to say about that. Mm-hmm. And again, hold on, just to put the cherry on the cake, understand that this is the industry I work in and this is what I do day to day. So this is not a personal opinion. This is how things work. That is all I have to say.
Well, whatever the Bidens and the Clintons are doing, they're funneling all kinds of illegal funds to their family foundations, and they're getting away with it. So are you saying I have to run for political office to get those protections, or can I just use the same legal entities that they're doing?
You can use the same entities, but you have to understand that when they no longer have access to use it to their benefit, what can you expect in terms of the rules? Right? Because what people fail to realize is that none of this stuff is actually by law. All of the tax notices that we abide by are just that. Notices, rules, information that's put out. You can't find anything in black and white. And what I mean black and white, I mean in the Constitution, on paper, that actually states you got to do X, Y, Z. Everything that comes after a certain point in time, you just have to realize it's psyops. You don't have to agree with it or like it, but that's what it is. So understand that this is why the rules are fluid and you have no control. Because that's exactly the truth. You don't have to like it, but this is why. For example, I used to use Western Union to send my mother money all of the time. My mother. Okay? Years, at least a decade. Then all of a sudden, they feel like asking me to take a picture to send $200, $300. Fiat. Okay? Mm-hmm. The system we're all so clamoring to still stay within. So understand that you do not have any control, even if you have all of this pretty stuff set up. I'm just saying this as a matter of fact, so people do not get blindsided. Because again, not your keys, not your coin. And if you're playing in the fiat system, none of that shit is yours.
But you retain the keys in this scenario. I don't get it.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole scenario, the whole structuring, the whole tying yourself to the system. That's what I'm talking about. You have to understand the game you're
What's
playing.
your alternative, though, Wales?
There is no alternative. This is the thing, Papa. You always want some boilerplate made solution. And what you have to realize, hold on, what you have to realize is that it does not exist for a very good reason. And that reason is whoever came before people my age didn't give enough of a fuck to do anything about it. That's a fact.
Nor mine. I understand. Yeah.
Whatever.
But
your generation did. Hold on. Your generation did nothing. Neither did the generation before you.
How long do I have to hold on before you kind of finish?
Well, you're just looking for a boilerplate solution that does not exist. I already gave you your answer.
We just got it today. We got something that we got to take a look at. You want to lecture about this? If you knew about it, why didn't you bring it up?
You don't get it, do you? Look, listen, Papa. I'm trying to make a very factual point. It's not about keeping information from anybody. This information is out there. I've talked about trust before. A foundation is nothing different than a trust. It just has a different name and a different connotation to it in a legal sense, in the way that funds are recorded and used, right? Because you have to understand what they're after.
Okay, it's the school of have to understanding now. Can we please get back to this type of thing? You have some very important professional insight. If you want to do it pertinent to the germane to the discussion, which we were enlightened about just as you came in and validated, which was very, very good. As a professional, can you tell us more about this stuff, or just that you shouldn't, wrangle with the system? You should go understand somewhere else.
Understand that you don't make the rules, and if you're going to play in this,
I understand that. Okay, and what's next?
Hold on, Papa. With your wealth, then you must protect yourself, because again, we all talk about hardware wallets and all of this stuff. Why is it any different for this system? And that's my conversational point. So it's very relevant. I'm not understanding why you think it's not. It's extremely relevant, because you're making money over here and you're looking to connect that wealth to over there. It's something you need to take into account, because it's a game that I wouldn't advise anybody play if they don't have their assets segregated to where it cannot be visualized, right? Because if you're giving them a wallet address, then guess what you're doing? What's up, Peter? And that's my whole point. It's not about shooting it down. It's about understanding what you're doing, because you're exposing yourself now. And it's a great, it's a great opportunity.
You're giving them the opportunity to tie that wallet to your name.
Yeah.
I mean,
Entrapment.
So IRS is a little over inundated right now. So there's a good chance that they probably don't know exactly which wallet is yours unless you sent it directly from, unless it's directly been sent to and from one of the fiat on-ramps like Coinbase or Gemini. But if they really wanted to come at you, it wouldn't take long to figure out which wallets you interact with and which ones probably actually belong to you. It probably wouldn't take them long to figure that out if you were already a target of theirs. So here's the other thing to that, Wales, is that what if you're not the target? I know a lot of people that are very, very, very wealthy that do not agree with the system, but they have never been attacked before. So I agree that you can become the target of their ire, but if you're not their political opponent, then most of the time they're not going to come for you. So I think it's good that your words of caution, but the reality is most people aren't sought after by the IRS and attacked the way that you're preparing them to be aware of.
While true, you must remember that things change, and crypto has become an obvious target. I don't know if everybody missed the past 2 weeks, but it's just a friendly reminder, and that's all I have to say. You don't have to take anything I say verbatim, but understand that what I am saying is true. And that's all you need to understand. You're going to ultimately do whatever you want. I'm not telling you not to do anything. I'm telling you to understand the reality of the game that you're playing, because that's my whole objective. I don't give a shit what you do with your money. I already know. So again, I'm just sharing useful information. That's it.
No, and I appreciate it. I definitely do. But I just want to preface that to everybody out there that don't let this stop you from participating in these ways. But just know that just know that there is a risk one way or the other. Either they're going to come at you with the full force and boot on your neck for all of your crypto games, or you play the game and then they on the back end can change the rules on you later. So I think education is great on both sides. So I think it's good to know the ways you can set yourself up to protect against this, as well as how they can change the rules behind your back and you still be a target, so to speak, because they look at you as a number in a piggy bank and they want their cut. Every government out there wants their cut of your piggy bank. And yes, Wales is 100% correct. If anyone's been paying attention for the last 2-3 weeks, man, that Senate bill with the infrastructure bill and the way they came at crypto, and they weren't even willing to look at amendments, and they just shoved that sucker through, and it's literally unenforceable. That's probably by design, because now it's such an enigma that they can just say, well, now you're not in compliance. And it's like, well, you don't have any drawn out lines as to what compliance actually looks like. And they say, oh, it's pretty clear here, everything we want. So
well, it hasn't even been specified which bureau or which wing of which bureau is going to be actually, whether or not it's going to be licenses or it's going to be simply a code of compliance. That has not been hashed out at all. It's just a definition. And the definition is also enigmatic. So
at
honestly,
least have your, I think you guys should still. So here's the deal. If you guys ever listen to Tom Wheelwright, which is Robert Kiyosaki's legal representative on the tax side, his CPA, he has a whole book. Someone put the name of the book in that. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm thinking of all Ken McElroy's books, but
I know who you're talking about though. The guy's he's a boss. If you're gonna reach out to anybody, that is definitely somebody worth reaching out to.
He's a guy that gets enjoyment out of reading the tax code, and he's helped Robert Kiyosaki circumvent paying taxes in every way possible. And the one thing that he will say over and over again is make sure you research and have the right entities in place first. That's why you guys need to look into these trusts. You need to look into these family foundations. You need to look in these QOZs, QOFs, these NIMCRUTs. You need to look at these tools and utilize them to the best of your advantage and go forward with that information until they come at you. Now, keep in mind, if you are going to go with something that I'm talking about that I introduced earlier, that you have to dox your wallet address, you are tying that to your name. So if you guys are trying to do something out of the purview or the eye of the IRS or the federal government, then that is probably not the right way to go. It's something I'm looking into, though, and I think you should at least look into it, guys. Do your own research, talk to tax professionals, see what they can help set you up with. But yes, be aware that there is a risk on the back end. Thanks to Wales bringing that to our attention, so it doesn't all sound like unicorns and rainbows. But it's definitely. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki himself will say that he is an education channel. He's not telling you what to do. He just gives you the information, or what you do with it is to research it and find ways to go forward. But Tom Wheelwright is really great at helping you guys set up, or at least having the mindset of, how do I set this up before I get the wealth so that I'm in the right position to not be taxed on it and to have to pay 40% of it to the federal government every time I make a move.
Right. I mean, I know this is hard. Like, I know it's not easy to think you found an out, but it's really not. And there's a reason for that. There's a very clear reason for that. And we really need to just come to terms with what is actually going on. Like, when you have somebody telling you can't send $200 to your mother without some KYC, there should be a problem there, because we're talking about fiat. Okay.
Yeah. And then charge you 20% as a fee.
I mean, forget the fees. We're just talking about principle of privacy here.
I know, but that's a hidden tax all on its own.
Of course. But the whole system is set up that way, and that's the problem, right? I get the advantages to all of these nuances in the tax system. I study them for fun as well. This is how I know that. I don't work in this space. How do I know anything, right? I technically know too much for a person that doesn't work in the space. And the thing is that you just have to read. You know, people want to have the answers just given to them. And unfortunately, it does not exist. You have to educate yourself financially, because everyone's situation is unique to them. Nobody can actually tell you what makes sense for you unless you're giving them the A through Z. So don't ever sit there and think you're going to receive a boilerplate solution to something that's not boilerplate. It's just not feasible. Nothing that we're doing is boilerplate. I think it's important that everybody understands that. Crypto came out from one very specific thing. It wasn't from a vacation. It was a political statement, and I think we all like to forget that. That's important.
It was, and that's why I like Richard, though. Circling back to Hex, that's why I like Richard, is because he tried to keep the true ideals and monikers of what crypto was created for. Not your keys, not your coins. So you control keys at all times. Sovereignty of your own money. Financial transactions that shouldn't be tracked by your name and your identity, because that's your Fourth Amendment right to the information of secrecy of your private transactions and your data. All of that stuff is stuff that Richard believes in, and is part of the reason why, listening to him, I decided, you know what, I'm going to follow that guy, because that guy's been talking truth since the beginning. That's what crypto is really made for. Not this hand your keys over to Nexo and let them provide yield to you by controlling your keys. That's not how this game is supposed to work. So I think a lot of people here in the Hex King community, I think that the reason why you have such a great following, Wales, is because there's a lot of like-minded people that have come to the same realization as you, and as to what you and Richard have been saying.
Excuse me, may I for a moment? Well, Motown Oldies makes a great point. If you're using a cell phone or a PC to watch even this live stream, you're already doxxed beyond anything you need to worry yourself out, as mundane as currency and spending money. What you have is a triangulation that can be perpetrated through it's an automatic request for a lawful intercept to another server that basically represents a judge in the United States. That gets approved, gets sent back to law enforcement, and they can triangulate your whereabouts and arrest you no matter what. They can take a look at every YouTube video that you've ever seen. They can replay it back. They can live listen to all your recordings. All of this exists because I used to sell this system. And let me tell you that is what you have to worry about, is becoming a person of interest. Once you're a person of interest for any small infraction, the whole snowball effect begins. So you see, it's a lot worse and a lot better than we're talking about. That is, it's already set in stone that whatever system that we have in our government right now and our law enforcement can take care of wrongdoers. Whether or not you're labeled a wrongdoer is up to you, grossly up to you. If you mix your cryptocurrency to try to obfuscate all the transactions, that's a no-no, because that gives them some kind of pause for concern. If you do anything that tries to get you off the grid, like I'm going to go strictly crypto in everything that I do, and I'm going to mix everything, I'm going to only do transactions from wallet to wallet, and nobody's going to ever see me, and I'm going to go in the back alley, I'm going to get my crypto that way. If you think that the system is mature enough to do that, the answer is it's not. There's always a way they can look you up and take care of you. So, that being said, that's why I am interested in paying my taxes and playing the game through the old school philosophies that they've set down, because God is my witness, there's somebody that's buying $50 million Park Avenue apartments, and those people are not in jail, and I'm going to be one of those guys, because I'm going to pay large tax fees to the government, and I'm going to make huge gains with Hex and Pulse.
Much luck to you in that dream, Papa. But
You're welcome.
since you're not paying
welcome.
attention, I'm going to get
I'm very much paying attention to you.
Sir,
I'm
I
very
don't
much paying
think you
attention.
are.
I disagree with you. I'm very much paying attention to you.
But you have to understand, this is not my saying, right? Like, you can literally go to worldeconomicforum.org and just check out their listings and their offerings for what your future is going to be. Again, not coming from me. These folks have never lied in my lifetime. That's all I'm going to say about it. And that's where I'll leave it. Because again, it's a conversation about what you want to see and what you don't want to see. We're here in crypto. We're here doing things that are already antithetical to the system that currently exists. And that's where crypto came from. That's where it was born from. So if the intent is to maintain the slave system, sure, knock yourself out. My intent is not to engage in that kind of activity, and that's why I'm in crypto. Plain and simple. So we just have two different vantage points about why we're here, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to share my point of views just like you are with respect to what is actually supposed to be going on, and not just trying to run back to the fiat system, because I personally want nothing to do with it because it has no value, right? To me. right?
I just get the feeling
I live
that
within the
Wales,
system, and that's okay.
Right.
What's up? Go ahead.
Wales,
Go ahead.
I get the feeling that both of us have been through the looking glass. I've decided to come back into the
Sure.
room. You're still exploring all that stuff out there, and you think that that's the way that you want to go, and that's okay. I'm just saying that at my age and at the amazing wealth that all of us are going to discover shortly, we got to have an idea of playing it within the system that currently exists. If you want to create a new state and the new, foundation and enjoy all the infrastructure that our countries have already built up under the old system, then great. But I kind of require that in my old age. I want that. I want to walk down the street and know that if there's a fire, the fire department goes and puts it out. I want to know that the streets are paved. I want to know that, law enforcement is there to get the real bad guys, not me. So is that so bad?
Man, that
I want food that doesn't poison me, that isn't painted red just because it makes it look better. I don't want that anymore.
I feel you. But what you have to understand is that world that you want doesn't exist. If it did, I have never seen it. And that's what's going on.
You've never seen it?
No, I haven't yet to see police come and actually stop anything from happening ever. That's number one.
That's a cultural bias. And yes, I've been stopped by police in LA too.
It's not a cultural bias, brother. This is what I see outside.
Okay, so if I say I have seen it and you say you haven't seen it, what's the debate? We can agree that we shouldn't bring that up. I feel safe with police. You feel threatened.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. What I'm saying is you're asking for something that's physically impossible. You're asking for the Minority Report. And that, my friend, is not possible. That's my point. You're asking for things that are just not realistic, right? Like, I understand police are there to serve a purpose. But if we even knew the history of police, we wouldn't even let them have weapons. And that's a fact because police didn't even have weapons at first. So what happened over time is that we've allowed intermediaries to meddle in our affairs instead of us being adults and discussing them. That's what's actually happened over time. And now it's to the point that two people can't even argue because calling the cops. That's what we have because of cops. But again, this is digressing. I'm sorry. Have you
ever been robbed, Wales?
Yeah, man. I'm from the Bronx. What do you mean?
Okay. So your place has been broken into. Someone came in and stole your shit, right? It's happened to me too, right?
Sure. Okay.
So afterwards, did you call the cops?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did you feel after you called the cops? You got a broken window, a broken door. Someone could come back at any minute to finish the job or catch you at home and take care of you too.
You want to know how I felt after I called the cops? I'm still waiting, and this was in 1990.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm from a different generation. Maybe when I called the cops, they did show up.
I'm sorry, brother, but you have to understand things change with time. It's crazy, but it's true.
There are services. Not only that, but don't you feel about the cops risking their lives too? I mean,
no, man. I was in the military. I fucking signed up for that. What excuse is that? It's the lamest excuse I've ever heard. Seriously.
So you risked your life too in the military. By the way, thank you for your service.
Don't need to. But I opted to do that.
Right. Within the system, you did that though, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure, because I didn't know any better. No, because I was a pawn. Just like all those service members that are pawns right now because they simply do not know what is going on. Just like I didn't. You have to understand.
The protection of the state is not something that you need.
Protection of the state?
Yes.
When has the state ever protected me? When I was out there fighting for the state, I was protecting myself. I was sent out there with no preparation and no training. What are you talking about, sir? That's a real
they gave you a gun.
Oh, really? Oh, because I couldn't have just taken anything from somebody else. That everybody else out there has guns. AKs. Well, I'm just making a point, because it's true. Of course.
I just don't subscribe to anarchy.
It's not about, you don't understand the term. Look it up. You think
I understand anarchy, you always call it the term. Okay. How about chaos?
Chaos is not what I'm into. That's where you're confused.
Well, to me, it seems like going backwards. I'd like to
that's
think
the problem.
That we all
look up the definition of anarchy, sir.
Wales,
Nobody is asking for chaos.
Here's my own truth, okay? In the short time that we have on this planet, which is like 80-something years, right?
How true, he said.
We don't have to go discover how to get fire. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah.
Go on, probably.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We learn from all of the history of everything we've ever learned on Earth within like 12, 13 to 15 years.
I disagree with that. I don't think we learn anything.
How did you?
We did. I don't think we'd be living in the current
Did
stage
you just
we're living
Google
right
search
now.
it when you were like 5 years old? Then how did you learn it? You went through the school system, didn't you?
Learn what? I'm sorry. Maybe I missed what you were saying.
You learned how to read and write. You learned how to freaking the basics,
I'm sorry.
right?
I'm sorry. No, I
Right.
actually learned that at home, bro. I didn't learn that in school.
Okay, but it was printed in a book, correct?
Oh, okay,
And the
sure,
person
yeah.
that taught you must have learned it somewhere.
I would guess so, yeah.
You know, gravity, freaking fire, the wheel, all this shit.
I mean, you do
understand
realize
it's
the
passed down in-
whole notion of school is new, right? Like people used to teach, like families would teach their
Shit,
offspring.
I'm done. That was enough there. I'm done. The rabbit hole is up to here.
I just don't understand what you're trying to say, Papa. That's all.
I'm saying that the fruit of everything is, for better or for worse, reflected in the society that we have today. This is the culmination of everything all the mistakes we've made and all the great, amazing things that we've done, and that is a good thing, right? And playing by the rules and improving society, you know, by playing into the rules is a great thing. Learn how to do that. Anarchy and breaking from the system does not.
I'll tell you what, Papa. I have no criminal record. I don't know what you think that means, but to me, that means playing by the rules.
I didn't say you had no criminal record.
Here's the thing you have to understand, Papa. It's a very plain comment that is actually irrelevant, but it's very heavy because in the U.S., we all break the law every day.
Now that is true.
Now that is true. I agree.
That's the unfortunate thing about our system. Cash Plus, thank you, sir, for the $50. Great stream, loving it. Glad we didn't go to outro when Dorsey told us to. Thank you, Cash Plus.
And again, you know, I'm not against anything that's being offered, right? As far as knowledge goes, I just think it's important that we understand the risks that we're taking.
Yes,
I agree with Wills. I think one thing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's one thing to say that they're coming for you, and it's another thing to say, hey, you're giving them the information that they need to come for you. I think that's what Wills is saying here, is that if you're going to volunteer that information, don't be surprised if someday they come knocking on your door.
Be mindful.
And my high-priced attorney is going to be there to answer when they come.
And that's the right way to fight this, Poppy, in my opinion. It'll still cost you a lot less than it will to pay taxes over the next 10 years. So to have a really good attorney,
if you got a good lawyer,
I'm gonna have both. I'm gonna pay big checks.
And it's that they've got to have the. Here's the other thing: is your lawyer's got to have the right pedigree. Hold on. Your lawyer has to have the right pedigree, and they have to have the right connections and network.
I can't. After KNTX just told them to shut up.
I'm gonna have a fixer, an attorney, a CPA, a tax attorney, and a butler, and a monkey butler.
And that's Robert Kiyosaki right there. Robert Kiyosaki talks about having the right team.
Yes, sir.
And on yourself, you have the right team. And you know what, Mexicans? We are a very, very.
I don't even worry about that. People. I know we have the right team.
We have the right team.
Yeah, that's not a concern.
Very tenacious and very talented pool of people. So let's build our network of other Hexicans. Hey, any of you Hexicans? Okay, so my sister-in-law is building a network right now of CPAs and tax professionals, and I'm gonna release that to you guys so we can have some more resources. You do have no idea how many DMs I get from people who are like, "Hey, heard you talking about taxes. I can't find a frickin' CPA to save my life that's willing to look at crypto taxes." Well, we're working on a solution on the back end. It's one of the things I've been hush-hush about, but it's a network that we've been trying to build on the back end, try to get qualified people that are good at what they do so that we can help other Hexicans. So we need to pool our resources. We need to pool our collective knowledge. And I think we need to be mindful and wary of the things that Papa B and Wales are saying.
Because at the end of the day, like, you're listening just now on two extremes, like completely play the game and then try to play your own game. And at the end of the day, you just need to find your way of doing it, because you still have to live, you still have to do some things. It's just on you how you're gonna do that.
Dorsey, I will talk when you think.
We are all here to change this world, and together we can actually do that. That's the cool thing about all these streams in this community. It's not just we're making money. It's everyone is here to make money, and then we can actually do something with it instead of just being on their own. That's pretty cool.
Well, we're stronger together. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're the lone wolf in the woods, you're gonna get hunted down by the predator. So you're gonna be hunted down by the hunter. But if there's a pack of wolves, you've got a lot more protection that way. And we as Hexicans have gotten pretty good at being a wolf pack, man. I'm not gonna go on Twitter and listen to anything anyone negative has to say about Hex and see if we aren't a wolf pack. But we're a very, very entrepreneurial, very talented pool of people. And I think we should lean on each other. We should build our network out within Hex. And we've talked about this in the past, and no one's really officially created it yet, but a resource where can we get Hexican tax officials, lawyers, we've got a lot of people in production and editing, SEO. Like there's a lot of different things that we can lean on each other for. And so we really need, I am encouraging you as a call to action for you guys to start to lean on the Hexican community, the Hexican nation, as I like to call them on Twitter, to help you fulfill the needs in your life that you're weak at, that others are strong at. And then you can be whatever you're strong at, you can provide for others in that network.
Think about what you're strong at and then try to provide that to someone in the community, because there's 100% someone that needs your help with whatever you can do. And in that way, you create more social dynamics, social contacts in the community. And so all the connections get stronger. And that's all we need. The connections getting stronger. What?
Let's do this.
Wait, which one?
Can Wales and Papa build a bridge before outro?
I feel like we always have a bridge. Me and Papa talk all the time, actually. We do this on stream.
Well, I love it.
Stream 3 times a week together.
You next to
your brothers. Don't put me next to him.
Let's see it.
Papa, do it, Papa.
Can I pull my pants down for this one?
So,
come on, Papa.
Thanks, not so blue whale. Shit, the amount of streams you guys, kudos to you all, do. If you don't clash or get a bit fiery or passionate at times, then you ain't doing it right, and that's right.
That's true.
100%, because we're not going to agree on 100% of things, but I know one thing we agree on: trustless interest paid daily.
Oh yeah,
it's the best.
Exactly.
Papa, make the bridge.
Papa, make the bridge.
Make the bridge. You can do it.
You can do it with a finger.
I'm not going to give you the opportunity, Markable, to make a damn meme out of it.
Hey, who's trying to set you up?
Wilson's already doing it, man. Wilson's making the bridge.
I can tell. Yes. Well, yes, I am too. Under the table.
U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens. Nimcrat, QOZ, QOF, and all of you guys in the rest of the world, make sure you talk to a tax professional. I know, right? But there's usually some kind of equivalent, especially if there is an alliance with the United States. They recognize each other's sovereign tax rules. So usually you guys can make or find some kind of equivalent in your local countries. Thank you, Wells Only.
Sure thing.
Yep. Appreciate you putting that up there. So,
well,
guys, look into it.
Look
into and build a team. Build a team. You're stronger together. So, you guys have heard the old proverb of, and I can't remember which of Genghis Khan's sons it was, but he had 12 brothers and sisters, or 11 brothers and sisters. And he said, we by ourselves break easy, and took one arrow and snapped it. And then he took all 12 arrows and said, but if we stand together, and he couldn't break all 12 arrows. It's the same concept here, guys. We need to stand shoulder to shoulder on this.
That's right. Like if you understand, the 300, right? It was like that in Vegas, actually. It felt like it anyway.
I filled an arrow with rebar, and I did that with one arrow, and I won.
Yo, you're so full of shit.
So awesome. So Genghis Khan's son is full of shit. Watch this.
Outro.